Lil Baby has risen to the top as one of the hottest and most successful artists in the music industry today. However, before he ever stepped into the recording booth, he was heavily involved in the streets of Atlanta, where many of his closest friends and family members still have one foot firmly planted in the trenches. In this story, we're diving into the wild and complicated life of his brother, Lil Steve, also known as G5. Before Baby was making waves in the rap game, Steve was already known for his wild and criminal exploits, which led him down a dark path that included a car burglary spree and an even more intense murder case. Let's get into the details. While Lil Baby's rise to fame began with the release of his mixtape Perfect Timing in 2017, his brother Lil Steve was actually in the public eye well before him. Baby's career took off in 2017, but Steve was making headlines years earlier, in 2014, when he was involved in some serious trouble. That June, Lil Steve was released from jail after serving time and was given a probation sentence ranging from 20 to 30 years. It didn't take long before things went south, as Steve quickly became a one-man crime wave that put authorities on high alert. A mere month after his release, Steve began making waves for breaking into over 100 cars in hotel parking lots. As soon as the news broke, it became clear that Steve wasn't just a small-time criminal. He already had 24 active warrants out for his arrest, but the police accused him of stealing from as many as 118 cars. Steve's target was not just valuable electronics like GPS devices, phones, and laptops but also firearms, something that made both the police and local residents particularly anxious. The fear of escalating violence in the neighborhood was palpable, with the police warning people not to leave anything valuable in their cars because they couldn't catch Steve. Despite being caught on surveillance cameras robbing cars at a Motel 6, Steve's grandmother spoke to a local news station and downplayed the magnitude of his crimes, saying he might have done something, but no, not that many. Breaking into over 100 cars in just a few weeks is undeniably wild, but things took an even darker turn for Steve in 2018. By 2018, Lil Baby had already established himself as one of the hottest new rappers on the scene. His debut album, Harder Than Ever dropped in May 2018, hitting number 3 on the Billboard 200. He followed that up with a collaborative album with Gunna, Drip Harder in October, which earned him a Grammy nomination. While Baby was taking over the rap game, his little brother, Steve, was getting caught up in a much more serious and dangerous situation. On November 30, 2018, a shooting occurred in the parking lot of a Waffle House in Brookhaven. 2 men had been robbed and shot, with one of the victims dying at the scene and the other being rushed to the hospital. Police initially arrested Pierre Gregory Singletary, assuming he was a perpetrator in the robbery. However, further investigation revealed that Singletary was, in fact, the victim of the robbery, not the shooter. A few weeks later, on December 11, Steve and his associate, Quintez Griffin, were arrested and charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, armed robbery, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The shooting, which was initially thought to have happened at the Waffle House, actually took place at an apartment complex nearby, where Pierre Singletary lived. The surviving victim, Roderick Francois, later came forward to explain that he and his friend, Cartel Johnson, had gone to Pierre's apartment to buy weed when 2 men, including Steve, tried to rob them. During the robbery, shots were fired, and both Francois and Johnson were hit. Francois managed to carry his friend to his car and drove him to the Waffle House in search of help, but tragically, Johnson had already died by the time the authorities arrived. Steve and Griffin were charged with the murder of Cartel Johnson. What makes this even more surreal is that just a few months before the shooting, Lil Baby had posted a picture of himself with Steve on Facebook, captioning it, "G5 out that can give Emma 100 bands." While it's unclear if Baby actually gave Steve the money, he was certainly in a position to financially support his brother. With his success, Baby didn't need to see his brother involved in such reckless and dangerous activities. It's unclear exactly what was going on behind the scenes, but the police appeared to have enough evidence to charge Steve for the robbery and murder. Steve and Griffin spent more than a year sitting in jail, awaiting the legal process to unfold and the trial to begin. It was a hot mess from the start, as numerous complications arose in scheduling the trial and reaching an agreement on a date that both sides could accept. At one point, the state actually tried to let Steve and Griffin go, hoping they could gather more evidence for their case. However, the judge wasn't having it and wasn't willing to delay any further. By this time, the two had already been behind bars for over a year. The trial was finally scheduled to begin on January 7, 2020. But just weeks before it started, the prosecution hit another roadblock. They couldn't locate the 2 key witnesses they had planned to call to testify. In a bold move, the judge called out the prosecutors for what she considered an attempt to conceal their failures. She accused them of filing motions to delay the trial without providing any substantial evidence to justify the delays. Fed up with the prosecution's tactics, She blocked their attempt to postpone the trial further and ordered it to proceed as planned. When the trial finally kicked off, things took an even stranger turn. The prosecution essentially refused to participate in the trial altogether. They didn't help pick the jury, didn't deliver their opening argument, and didn't call any witnesses to testify. Instead, they tried to convince the judge to dismiss the charges against Steve and Griffin entirely, requesting that they be tried again at a later date. The judge refused, and with no participation from the prosecution, the defense was left to pick the jury and proceed with the trial. Seeing that the state wasn't making any effort to prosecute, Steve and Griffin's lawyers made a bold request to the judge. They asked for the charges to be dropped and for their clients to be acquitted. Surprisingly, the judge agreed. She ruled that since the prosecution had failed to present any substantial case or evidence against the defendants, there was no reason to continue holding them on the charges. In her statement, she remarked, "The state takes the position that these defendants are dangerous to the community, but if so, it was the state which failed the community by failing to present any case at all for their conviction." In a shocking twist, the court's ruling allowed Steve and Griffin to walk free, exposing the serious flaws in the prosecution's case and the mishandling of the trial. Despite the gravity of the charges against them, the prosecution's lack of evidence and failure to actively participate in the trial resulted in their acquittal. This bizarre and unexpected turn was a pivotal moment in Lil Steve's chaotic and unpredictable journey, serving as another chapter in his troubled life. Beating the murder charge was a major victory for Steve, and he celebrated the win with a First Day Out track where he rapped about his freedom, flexing his success and the hate he faced. Caught you like kin, pulled up with that fucking semi, made it happen, 500 just to prove I ain't did it, and then asterisk 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 asterisk, there was hat in honor. Baby came and scooped me in AF asterisk 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 asterisk, Rolls truck, Aventador behind me with the F asterisk 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 asterisk, doors up. However, the good times didn't last long for Steve. In 2020, he was booked again, but this time, there was a mix-up, and he was released by mistake. Taking advantage of this unexpected break, Steve went into hiding, but it didn't take long for the authorities to track him down. When they finally located him, they found him in a penthouse apartment surrounded by drugs, $20,000 in cash, and $11,000 worth of sneakers. Steve, who was reportedly curled up